Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session on Ways with Words. And this is like a continuation of my previous lecture where I was discussing about the poem Ode to Autumn by John Keats. And in this video, I'm going to discuss the stanza 3, the third stanza of Ode to Autumn. Okay, so we will quickly go to the next stanza. In this stanza, we are going to discuss about the music of autumn. What are the different elements that contribute to the music of the autumn? Okay, so that is what we're going to see. So you can see that in the first two lines, in line number 23 and 24, Keats first feels the absence of songs of spring, and that's why he asks, where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? But soon he regret about that. His regret is over, and he feels like for autumn has her own music. That is what he understands. Okay, think not of them, thou hast thy music too. So where is the music that characterizes spring? Where is it? Don't think about it. Don't think about the spring and its typical music. You have your own music. That realization poet gets, that particular moment. Okay, now moving on to the 25th and 26th line. While barred clouds bloom the soft dying day and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. No, he's talking about what? He's giving us, a kind of a background to the autumnal music, and the scene is being given, and you can see that the music follows. After he describes the scene, the music follows. The barred clouds drawn out in long lines or bars, or you can say you have that stratified clouds, and they are illuminated by the rays of the setting sun, and they reflect a rosy light in the plains below. So he is giving us the background, what exactly, how exactly the sky looks like. Okay, so the shadowed clouds expand in the evening sky and filter the sunlight such that it casts a pink color upon the fields, okay, which have been harvested. It is already harvested because we are in autumn season. Okay, so it is harvested, and in that fields you can see a pink color is casted over it. Okay, the stubble plains, there's a usage, stubble plains, it characterizes the site of autumn. After harvest season, the stumps of corn are left in the field, and the sunset illumines both the sky above and the earth below. It's basically he's trying to give us a background of the entire picture of autumn over here in this lines and in these lines. So that is about the 25th and 26th line, and moving on to the 27th, 28th and 29th line, you can see, then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn among the river swallows, born soft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. So at this time there is a gloomy sound of gnats. It actually creates their own music, okay, while they fly about among the shrubs by the riverside, or when they fly with the wind upwards. Okay, it actually creates its own music. So basically the three lines describes about the sound that is produced by gnats. Okay, so the music of autumn includes gnats which hum mournfully among the willows that grow along the river banks, and which rise and fall according to the strength of the wind. That is in fact being mentioned up there. Then after that, the next line you can see, he's trying to next like an entire set of lines, and you can see that he's giving us, the poet is trying to give us different sounds that are present in the autumn season. And full grown lambs loud bleat from the hilly bone, hedge crickets sing and now with trouble soft, the red breast whistles from the garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. So the music also includes what? Nature. Like and you can see that, fully grown lambs that make their sound from the fence of their hilly enclosures. So it's like, bleatings is like, bleatings are basically the sound heard from the full grown lambs, okay, of the hills. Full grown lambs means, and you can see that in autumn lambs are full grown, okay, that is the idea. So bleat of land is like, it's plaintive, okay. And hilly born is basically giving us a kind of reference to the limit, it basically gives us an insight into the enclosure, like, a kind of a fence. So within the fence, lambs are making their sound. Then next line, it includes crickets singing in the bushes, okay, and red breasted bird that softly whistles from a small garden, garden croft, so red breast whistles means red breast bird. It whistles in very softly, from a small garden. Lastly, it also includes the growing flock of swallows, okay, which rise and sing together against the darkening sky. So the sky is about to means it is about to, the sun is about to set, okay, the sky is in fact becoming dark. And it indicates both, like, sunset and also autumn season. And at that time you can see that, the swallows are making a sound. The swallows are making a growing flock of swallows, they rise and sing together, okay. Gathering swallows is like, swallows gather, they come together in the autumnal skies towards the sunset and exercise their wings in order to make themselves ready for the for their winter migration. Swallows are a group of birds, they migrate during winter season, so they gather around and they come together. That's like flock, okay, they come together. So their sound is also visible, or you can say their sound is also heard during autumnal season. So thus Keats speaks happily of their music of autumn. Okay, so these are the different sounds that we actually get from the autumn season. One is about gnats, then we have full grown lambs making their sound, then we have the chirping of grasshoppers. Yes, I have missed out it in between. Okay, grasshoppers music, though it is not mentioned in your textbook, there's a reference to that in some of the in some of the related notes and all, you have a reference to that. Then we have hedge crickets, then we have red breast birds, and also swallows. So that is all about the third stanza of Ode to Autumn. Thank you.